Have you got?
Right now, but that's
It's been better.
I've got some name for everybody else is behind 17, 18. It's so same. I mean, anything for everybody. I can't. Organizations 10 times. Bad it is, it's gone. Appreciate it. Yep.
I'm ashamed of my forgetfulness.
You're forgetfulness.
Yeah, I had 5 o'clock on the brain.
Oh. Well, I would have been if I hadn't been going through there and scrolling, and all of a sudden, Saturday, I was looking at it and it said 3 o'clock. I thought, oh.
Yeah. And I missed that. I blew right past that.
We're good, Bo. Oh, I heard something happening, I forgot. We're good.
Yeah, no, she had everything written about that.
I know one time she communicated.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's been, I talked to her at the Republican Party, the last Republican Party meeting, and she mentioned that.
Did you let us up here?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of them was our copy. It's okay.
It was
Yeah,
just
do what you
not
gotta
just
Mr. Pruitt, how are you today?
Counselor?
How y'all? Hey, I like it. We got a counselor there. Barrister, solicitor. Yeah, barrister. Oh, even barrister's even better. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, in England, barristers are the ones who go to court, and solicitors are the ones who don't, so I'd rather be a solicitor.
Oh, that's good.
Of course, they could make one of them baristas.
Yeah, barista, even better.
So that solicitor general, that makes that real.
Yeah.
That's real good. You can just sit there and you don't have to do anything really. Except just tell other people not to do it. Is that right?
And it's just about just, I'm just pretty simple about this stuff. You got to do all this budget stuff prior to setting it.
100%. We're going to next year. As a matter of fact,
We
our
did
deadline.
some of that last year.
Well,
All that's got to happen prior to setting it.
I'll tell you now that, May 1st is when budgets will come from the departments, and June 1st, we're gonna start going over. It's already a done deal, it's already wrote down, this is when it's gonna happen. Transaction with Kathy.
Christina didn't leave you, but
We actually started it early, but then we had to take a month and a half break. We should have done Monday.
we don't have to do anything.
Thank you.
Just tell Jenny that.
Yeah, that, a minute ago, she may be at the sales center, but she's not. Big difference. I don't think the mindset is like, yeah, I think it was a lot of it. Sports and recreation is what finance and understanding the budget. I do believe to this day she's probably a good assistant director, but she's not.
It's obvious from the conversation, it's been a long time. They're occupying a lot of time to think about this potential senior center project.
She ain't occupied anyway.
Yes, you have to.
As you can see, I just told that up. I told her, I told smoke and all that, I said, we're gonna back up and run. Like, I'm gonna cut that building out. I want it to happen, but we're not gonna have to, probably, set that building, we're gonna cut the gymnasium completely off, put it on one side of the road, put it in the senior center, I don't care. We can put it in that parking lot up there, we can put it in a hole, I don't care what you want, I don't think.
We don't want to put it in Hoover, because that's too far away from the fourth district, you know, I'm just telling you.
Right.
And the fourth district, people say, what am I getting?
Well, I see what Frank did down there, got elected and painted that mural on the side of that building.
Hey. Remind y'all. But all jokes aside, I think it'll work. I'm gonna say in a minute, I'm gonna tell everybody in a minute, I think we're going to bring back Mel. She likes to go by Mel, it's Melinda. Watching her in 3 days put together this massive grant. I mean, it about killed me and Christina. There's a large set of dollars out there right now for Parks, Recreation, Senior, and potentially Ag. We're gonna get her to come in hopefully tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, and say, read us this, tell her where it fits, and it may fit us all. But if I can retain her services for that amount.
My only question is though, you know, sort of came up, it seems like the 11th hour, there's always some thing, like, you know, putting together, you know, that
That grant?
Well, it's a grant, but that one piece of it, that, it seemed like we didn't know that we had to have that, where, you know, that, I guess, Derek weighed in on the, comparisons or whatever type deal, you know, where you had the
cost analysis.
The alternatives, that was alternative. I mean, it seemed like almost, it seemed to me that was almost at 11th hour, oh, we gotta get this done, like we didn't know that had to be part of it.
Well, so we had a month notice.
Well, I know.
So what no, that was a good thing. The problem was we was in the third week to get started.
I agree.
So the question is
look who's here. So I'm not trying to complain. I'm just saying, we.
Don't you want your seat?
So we
No.
need more
Are you
staff,
sure?
or
Yes, I'm gonna be here for a
we
little
need
bit.
somebody else to be more,
the ball fell through at the office of OPB. They couldn't answer the questions. We had them right there live.
so that's where the, where we hit the delay.
So when we were texting them saying, hey, how do you want this question answered? They were like, we don't know. Like, wait a minute, it's part of it. We have to know.
So we just make up, yeah, there you go.
So we probably give them more than they needed only because they didn't know what we needed. And that's why we're in such a good shape with the submittals of this particular grant, is because they had already refused a lot.
So we are in good shape.
According to OTB's office, because they throw out, she said they throw out like 40 or 50 grants because people had used last year's numbers on grants they had prepared, and the numbers is no good.
Okay.
So OPB literally on Thursday, right, at 3 o'clock, changed the rules on a Friday submittal.
But we turned out to be good, even though it seemed like an 11th hour crisis, right? Good.
Well, it was 11 o'clock when the submittal
Well, I
went in.
know, I'm
It was
just saying.
11:59.
I know. That's it, you know.
But that Melinda,
I just had one little piece with it, but I did get in touch with her on whether it needed BOC approval, and within a couple of hours, she had gotten written confirmation from the state, no.
Good.
so Derek, she knows you, I don't know if you know her.
Oh, yes.
All right, so
Way back.
she's a hoot now. She fit in great with Missy and Christina. Why are you here?
'Cause I got like 30 minutes.
Okay.
I tried to hold my money, but she
You
won't
got
take
30
it.
minutes.
You need to go to the ballpark, be with the kids.
I am.
So why are you even here then?
Well, Chris Gaines right there, and her name is bringing her, so I'm gonna walk over her.
Promise
So
you,
you just,
Christina, we
just
won't mess it up.
dedicated individual?
I think it's a lack of trust.
Get a copy of the agenda, make sure I'm right this time.
Christina says, yeah, so it's no, it's just like, what was it, regular trust but verified?
That's it.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's go. But Derek, sure enough, highly impressed with, that girl she was just spitting it out, buddy. She really did, and she read the last one, and she was like, oh my God, you would never get in that. So I do feel like we're probably gonna retain her back on the senior center project. We're gonna try to meet and say, hey, what do you think? Because there is another large pool sitting out there right now.
And the senior center would,
It may actually fall for Ag too. I mean, there's a massive amount of money out there, like 400 million for Parks and Recreation.
But ain't we got,
She's more in, I mean, her background.
That is her
more
background.
Parks and Rec stuff.
yes. Cool. That'd be great.
So she basically said, Todd, make a list of what you got, what you want, where you want me to go, and I'll tell you if it's out there. That was particular. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners Agenda Setting Work Session Agenda, September 12th at 6 p.m. First off, I want to say this because some of you were in the room last Monday night, I think 2 Monday nights ago, and it had been a very, very long day for me. And some of the things about the way I conducted that meeting, I went home and thought, Lord have mercy, I hope nobody was watching. But it was not on par. Christina, the next day, she gave me my rundown of my mistakes, and I promise I'll do better tonight. Business involving guest groups or multiple visitors. We have Daughters of the American Revolution, and we have a proclamation naming September 16, 2022, Constitution Week. Is Miss Jane Reese here? Miss Jane, I'm going to read this for you.
Okay.
September 17, 2022 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document in the anniversary of its creation, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issues of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States, designated September 17th through the 23rd as a Constitution Week. Now, therefore be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Madison County, Georgia do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as a Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion to approve this proclamation.
This proclamation be approved as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Chandler and a second by Commissioner Kirk. Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, Dennis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion approved, young lady. I'll give you the original copy. And witness whereof, you want to come on up? No, I can't even say that word. What is that?
Hereunto.
Hereunto. Y'all had to write it like that? See, I would have spelt it different. Hereunto.
Lawyer.
Set my hand. Has caused the seal of the county of Madison County to be affixed this 12th day of September of the year of the Lord 2022.
Turn it around here.
Yep.
Now we know.
Thank
Thank
young
you,
lady.
thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all are welcome to stay with us.
So, just took your step away.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't even read that into that word. If y'all seen my emails, that would have been whereas, or hereas. First off, we have Mr. Brennan Baird, 911 Radio System Conclusion Report. Brennan is our 911 Chief CEO.
I've seen the paycheck, it ain't that.
I have seen some correspondence flying around today. I think you've got a copy of it. I don't think the board was attached on it, but there was some,
One, today, yes.
from some volunteer firemen.
Yeah, and,
Very well written, Mr. Lucas.
Vendrillo, very smart fellow. Hopefully, Christina sent, there she is, hi. Christina sent out the report that I put together. It's just basically a summary of the things that we've talked about in the past and where we stand. There are still some ever-evolving changes that we're undergoing. That's just part of technology. It happens. Stop evaluating it and changing it around or re-engineering it. You're going to be behind the 8 ball somewhere. So some things have changed, some have stayed the same, hopefully all for the better. I don't know if y'all had some specific questions, but hopefully most of the things that you had questions on is covered either in there or we've already talked about one or the other.
The only question I have, and there may not be a good answer for it, is based off the emails and the concerns that I've heard and then discussion back from you, is, you know, we still have a river coverage area that's just not covered that well. Is there anything that this board or you or maybe the radio company's gonna do in the system sector, maybe a potential repeater or something like that down along the river?
There's resolutions for that, but cost versus benefit is not something that I think we need to do. It's the number of calls we have there per year range somewhere around 20, and that's in those 2 specific areas. So unless we build a radio tower in that area along the river, we're not gonna fix that, because radio signal, much like cell phone signal, won't talk through dirt. You know, the tower's this tall and the river's down here and there's a hill in between, it won't go through there. You can fix that by building an exceptionally tall tower that'll provide a point-to-point. You're looking at $500,000. It doesn't seem like the best option. In the report there, I did talk about a couple of the options that we've looked into. One of the things we're doing right now is we're adding a talk out site, a transmit site at the Carlton site. Those have always been a receive-only sites. That should help some of that area, especially along the Royal Woods River section. It's not going to help up there on the Franklin County line along the river. The mobiles, the car radios, those work fine. But portable handheld radios, you're talking back with 4 to 5 watts. If you kick it real hard and hold it real high, it's hit or miss. But again, without building a radio tower that extends above the landscape to get back to one of the talk-in sites, there's not a physically responsible way to fix that. The idea has been floated around of trying to put a car or mobile repeater in some of the rescue vehicles, but that doesn't really help your EMS or your law enforcement calls. It would along the river if you had, say, water rescue or lost kayak or something like that. That's a cost beneficial investment and something we can look at, but I want to see how this adding Carlton as a transmit site does before we start spending that money.
I would like to at least explore the idea of putting that type of repeater in our water rescue truck. We have one truck that's really designated for rescue to go to the river no matter where they go, whether it be Harrison or Carlton.
Right. If
that would be an advantage of a reasonable expense, I think we need to at least look at it, because that truck goes to every event on the river.
Yes, any of the rescue events.
In the rescue events,
it
yes.
would. And that's probably, just looking at call history, that's probably somewhere around 15 or 16 calls in a year, mostly during the summertime.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So,
I would just like to say that in talking with the fire departments and getting their input, they were very complimentary to you, Ryan, about how that you had worked with them on the issues and all that, and how this whole process had worked together. And I know there's still some things to be addressed,
yes,
but that they are being addressed, and that y'all are working well together. And I do appreciate that. As being a former volunteer fireman, and also as just one that's sort of been an advocate for them, I appreciate you working with them.
We appreciate it. Sure do. Hopefully we can get them resolved. We're never gonna be perfect, but we'll try it.
Yeah. I understand.
We'll get close.
Did and I know it's not, something we did, but when the notice of FCC requiring us to turn it down, was that like a mandated change, like across the board, or was there some interference going on? I mean, what was the driver behind that?
So with the Part 22 frequencies that we bought, specifically because nobody else was on them, the rules about the maximum wattage doesn't really apply, but you still have to make reasonable effort, is what it's called, to stay within 20 miles of the county line transmitting. And somebody who worked for somebody who knew a guy, got in touch with FCC, who got in touch with our guy, and then we sat down and had a little powwow. Basically, you can talk in Gainesville, if you want to, and that was creating a problem. So we turned it down from 300 watts to 150, and that gave us some gaps that we didn't like. Then we had that power event that set everything on fire, and we had to start over. And on their dime, they replaced the repeater and the booster and the transmitter, and all that stuff. So we got that up to, digital's a little different than analog, so we're between, depending on what kind of coverage you got, what kind of interference you got, between 190 and about 210 watts. So those potential dead spots are few and far between now.
And if I remember when we went through it, they the 3 transmission sites, and then we're back up to 5. Wasn't the 5 the old?
Well, we had 7.
7.
in the old.
I knew it was getting rid of some, but I couldn't remember.
And so we've only got 2 actual transmit sites. The others are just talk-in sites,
Okay.
receive only, because we're putting out so many watts on the transmit side from the primary tower there by EMS. Unless you're a very low-lying area, which a couple of those around Young Harris and then down around Comer and Carlton are. So with that in mind, that's why we took that original second transmitter site, which was on James Holcomb Road there at the water tower, and we had to turn that off because it was so strong coming out of the primary site that the radios wouldn't roam to there. Like your cell phone looks for a particular signal, so our radios wouldn't recognize that there was a signal coming from there. It was all bouncing back, so we turned it off and did a lot of testing there. So we're moving that one to Carlton. So there'll be 2 transmit sites and 4 receive sites.
When do they anticipate having that up?
All the equipment's there. We're just waiting on the tower crew to get there. It'll be in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the update. I know I kind of talked on it for a while, making sure all our groups were talking, so
Right.
appreciate y'all putting that effort in.
No worries. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You were needing tower what?
Do I know? They're a tower climbing crew. They have a contract crew that climbs the towers and installs all the.
We have some
transmitters.
tower if somebody needs it,
Oh, yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah, you know, if it was about twice that tall, we could probably use it on the river.
I know, I already thought about that. I don't really know about the other one that we had that
Yeah.
may have been the same diameter, but.
Yeah, you'd have to end up guying that one, with cables, and, it'd be more expensive than it would be trying to just build a new one.
So let me ask you something before you leave, and I appreciate your time tonight. Is there anything that, besides maybe a rescue mobile unit to go in the rescue truck,
Right.
is there anything that we can do as a board of commissioners to help at this point?
Realistically, no. To be honest with you, we would have all liked to have gone with a P25 type, Motorola or Harris Industries, or even Kenwood system. But that's just financially not in our budget in this county. So that's why we went with something that we knew would work, had worked for areas around us, and was in our price range. You know, it's kind of like going to the jewelry store for your lady friend and say, man, I like that ring right there, but, you know, I'm gonna have to get one from over there.
I understand.
So it works well. It works enormously better than the old one did. It works dependably, kind of like we thought it would. There's obviously some tweaks that we're still making on it. There are bigger and better deals, but you're talking about $5 to $7 million, and that just, that wasn't something we could do.
You do know, I'm assuming that you know that the Comer EMS station, the upstairs of it, when we've ordered the generator for it, and we've sized that generator adequate enough to where that could potentially be your backup 911.
It'd be good to have a facility to have that in.
Yeah,
we
we're
need
trying
that,
to,
and
we're trying to pre-build just in case. You know, the decking's there, the flooring's there. At some point in time, I'll get you to come down and look at the electrical, say what electrical we're gonna need in case we had to pack up and move. A tree falls through the one you got, at least we can unbolt it, go plug it in, and it'll go to work.
Right.
Because that is the plan for that EMS station, is to have a backup 911 in the attic. It's not really in the attic, it's an upstairs.
Right.
The way we ordered the trusses, it has an upstairs room built in it. But I want to tell you up front that the generator is sized for you.
That would be fantastic. That'd be a very usable, facility, as we don't have that now, and technically, according to GEMA and several other oversight crews, we should.
Yeah, that's why we done it.
But if that is the plan, I would like for y'all to consider, finding a way to run fiber from some of the county facilities to that building. Because if you can do that, we won't have to put any transmitter equipment up there at all. It's literally flip a switch and you're up and running.
We can make those arrangements. Or we could probably jump on a dark fiber that's already going there.
Whatever
We'll
works.
make a phone call. All right. Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
Mr. Chairman, can I add something?
Yes, sir. This is a work session, brother.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, and again, I gotta kind of reiterate what Brendan has said. This system that you guys supported, has made communications tremendously better throughout our county. Yeah, there's still some spots we have issues, but when you get down in a hole, you get down in a hole. That's kind of how things go. But working with Brendan on the process and working with you all helping fund the system as a whole and help funding it for the fire departments, because we had a very big challenge in getting those radios so everybody could have those handheld radios. But again, thank you guys for your help with that, and Brendan and his crew for making it happen, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And Zach, by the way, our volunteer firemen, our fire departments are still looking for volunteers.
We are.
We are. All of them, I think.
That's right.
Michael, before we get away from the badges, Michael, Jeff, y'all have to say, y'all need anything?
We're good.
You're good. I love it.
Oh, I guess for a Collier Fire Department, because my wife's cooking tonight.
Do what now?
My wife's cooking tonight, because I'm not home.
Oh, all right. You can quote that, Zach. Go right ahead, buddy. It won't be me this time.
I shot the sheriff's, what she gonna
All right, moving on. Chairman's report. Madison County's transfer station will be hosting the Fall Tire Amnesty event, October 1st through November 5th. During the last event held in the spring, the transfer station collected 72 tons of tires. I'm going to skip number 2 because we just announced that in the last one. All right. There was a comprehensive plan workshop held Thursday, September 8th at 6 p.m. at Union Baptist Church. I'm not exactly sure the head count on that.
About 50.
About 50. Good deal. You know, the community input has been a huge success. I'm proud that this board stood behind that idea, along with Hall Consultants. I can't thank them enough for being as open and acceptive as they have to the public input. I had a meeting earlier today with Grady News Source about that comprehensive plan. That young man was there, and it's a good thing we opened it up to the public, because had we not, I think there would have been gaps in our coverage on our comprehensive plan. So I'm expecting good results out of that. The Board of Elections and Registrar's Office is needing citizens for poll workers. If you're interested in being involved with the electoral process for the November 8th election, please contact Ms. Tracy Dean. You have our phone number, Zach, 795-6335. Updates from the Georgia Department of Transportation regarding the intersection of Nice Commerce Road and Diamond Hill Nice Road at Highway 106. GDOT Safety Group has proposed some signage upgrades to be implemented. It will include double indicating intersection warnings and include road name signs. Georgia DOT is awaiting a plan sheet for those changes and will be issued the maintenance request as soon as they'll be installed.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
I think you have the last meeting's
Yeah,
chart.
you got different.
Well, I do.
Yes, they all have it.
They all got something different than me. All right. Scratch that, let's start over. 6:01, let me borrow yours. I was wondering why I was reading the same thing, I thought, wait a minute, we just discussed this. All right,
It's probably a stack of stuff you left.
not my fault. All right.
I didn't make the packet.
Well, good, we still have the voters registration deadline, November 8th. Please contact Tracy Dean. General special election will be held on October 11th, 2022. If you would like to register to vote or update a name change address, please contact Tracy Dean. Madison County Library is having a yard sale November 12th, 2022 to raise funds to local community readers. This event will be held at 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. The food bank expansion update, I don't know if any of y'all seen that. It is nearing completion. I do believe this week we're going to start some shelving in that area. We are currently waiting on the heat and air units, but please, if you have a chance, stop by the food bank and look at that. I was really surprised at how much inventory has been brought into the food bank since we emptied it to be able to add this new construction. One half of the old facility is back full and it's of new stuff. What are you giggling about?
Nothing.
Anyway, also during the months of August, the food bank served 40 families, 128 individuals. We would like to thank the community and the churches for the donations made throughout the year to the food bank. Ms. Rooker has requested donations for electric heaters with the fall and winter months approaching. That's the one thing that she's running short on. If you happen to want to donate something, please donate some electric heaters. I would like, and she's not here tonight, somebody help me with the age. Larry, you might be able to do it. 80, how old is Miss Rooker?
Probably early 80s.
Early 80s. I would tell you she'll just about outwork any 20-year-old there is. This lady really, truly eats, breathes, sleeps our food bank and the service that they provide to the county. The Comer EMS station, you'll notice that the bricks exterior will be completed this week. The rough-in HVAC, plumbing, and electrical is done. The stage of construction is also nearing completion. Once the inspection is completed, we will move forward with the drywall and installation in the interior metal. The doors are here and waiting to be put up. Basketball registrations are now open at the Madison County Rec Department until November 6th for ages 5 through 17. You can register online at the Madison County Rec Department's website. And that's just a flyer on the deadline for the general special election to be held on November 8th. Zach, if you have a copy or you want a copy, there it is. All right, now that I'm on the right one. I don't have anything else under Chairman's report, other than the fact that we are nearing completion of our budget and our wage study is wrapping up. The comprehensive plan has been a major boost, not only for the community, because I think people actually enjoy coming out and hearing what's going on in their county, but we also have the SDS plan, the service delivery plan, that's done every 10 years. That is being wrapped up currently. I don't see it on here, but I wanted to announce that Friday night about 11 o'clock, Madison County, along with Melinda Davis Cochran, who was the grant writer that you heard about in the newspaper that the Board of Commissioners hired for a freshwater drinking grant. We did submit that grant, and it's going to be for around $5,684,000, and that is with a matching fund of $1 million from the Board of Commissioners. We'll hear back on it shortly. They're telling us maybe 4 to 6 weeks. It's a very short window of turnaround. I'll tell you, it was no easy process. I would like to congratulate Melinda on a job well done. We don't know how the state picks and chooses, nor rhyme nor reason as to when you're awarded, but she done a fantastic job within the window of, opportunity to be able to present that grant. Old business, discuss American Rescue Plan Act funding. Actually, the Board of Commissioners agreed to $1,005,000, to be exact. So gentlemen, this is just, topics about the potential projects for the ARPA funds. I know y'all have seen emails bouncing around about potential ideas. It's not necessarily as much about the actual project cost as it was about projects in general. But we're going to need to start acting on finalizing which individual projects we're going to choose to work on, and therefore we can put some dollar figures to them that's more appropriate other than just guesstimations.
Yeah, the board needs to, we need to start the process to allocate those projects, because by the time when construction is, to bid things out, to buy property, or whatever some of these projects are, it's a long process. Just, so once we get a list, it's not like we're able to, the board and staff, to turn around and start those projects. We just need to start a list, start allocating those funds. The allocation deadline is in 2024. I think it looks like it's December. That's when all the funds need to be allocated, and then the funds have to be actually spent by 2026. So I know you think, oh, well, we have 4 years, but that 4 years will go by really quick when you try and do some of these projects.
Zach, some clarity on that grant I spoke about a minute ago, the one we just went out for, the $5.6 million, is that'll be a tie-in from Highway 72 over to the feed mill in Comer, and it'll also tie up some loose ends into Jackson County. I'm trying to remember the name of that road. Derek, you know? Lloyd Nems Road and Nease Sanford, I'm sorry, not Nease Sanford,
Crabapple Hollow.
Crabapple Hollow.
Sanford. And it will also tie the whole, Sanford school area into the, up 106 to the, where the water comes in from Commerce and Franklin County, and it's tied in right there. It really goes a long ways towards networking and redundancy to everything we've got in the county right now.
We also received some preliminary costs back from the contract engineer for the IDBA, Mr. John Phillips, regarding the sewer line at Hull. Dennis, that number, I don't know. I've not read the details in it because Friday was a hectic day, but it's somewhere around $1 million. But we're going to be looking about doing some funding on that towards grants. These water projects right now, as long as these ARPA funds keep coming available, I can assure the people of Madison County that we're going to go after every dollar we possibly can through matching funds. We would love to see water come into the Shiloh community off of 29. That was one of them that was talked about. We just didn't have enough time to get the numbers put together to get it in this grant.
Well, that was another thing, when we talked to OPB Thursday, that's what they said, that they're just spitting these grants out, and they're only giving people 4 to 6 weeks to apply for them, that they don't have like a predetermined list, that it's not a plan, so you really got to have projects planned to be ready to submit through OPB. But she said that they have a lot of stuff coming soon.
I don't want to I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression of, the federal government just throwing away tax dollars, but if they're going to give them away, we sure need them in this county, so we're going to go after all of them. I do see a big increase in our water and potential sewer expansions over the next 24 months.
I guess, since we're talking about the American Rescue Plan,
yeah,
going back to that, we've got a list here of projects, and I think it's a very good list. I guess my question is, some of these, and I'll mention one of them, like a training center for fire departments or whatever, how are we, you know, we just, like dollar figures, we gotta come up with those, and I know that we gotta sort of know what we're looking at before we start allocating money and then taking the plan, so.
Exactly.
What's our plan for trying to get that together, at least just a preliminary plan that says we think this many dollars to do this, and of course, we're gonna need the fire department's input, you know, that group, as far as what do they need for a training center?
Correct. So I'll give you the backstory to the training center. I was approached by several fire departments that had already spoken and determined that, yes, a training facility would not only, get their guys, obviously more training, more experience on the ground, but it would also provide services for the surrounding counties. But the number of 400,000 came from Jason Austin at Hull. I think you may have been in on it. They had already looked at specific facilities and seen what was offered. I know there's been a lot of conversation amongst the fire departments about this training facility and what they needed. You know, you can build up to $1 million facility.
Sure.
But they realized that at 400,000, it's actually about a 500 and, how much were y'all talking about, $10,000 a piece or something like that?
That was thrown out there.
Yeah, so it's like a $510,000 project, and the fire department was gonna commit $10,000 a piece on their behalf, so they would throw in 110. And the location for it, was not necessarily specific, because it really could be anywhere. They would like to have had it around Danielsville due to the rescue. It could be something that the county owns 87 acres behind the EMS station. It could be put there. It could be put in front of Danielsville Fire Hall in the open field. I don't know the spacing on it, but they have aerial photographs, and they have not just an aerial photograph, they have a product breakdown list of that training facility saying what it's gonna bring.
And I guess that's what my question is, for projects like that and other projects we got, as far as something that, you know, in a condensed version that we as the BOC members can look at to look at more in depth what we're, you know.
Absolutely.
What the project actually is. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be helpful for me anyway. I don't know, speaking for myself, that it would be helpful. And since it sounds like y'all already got some preliminary stuff that could be presented to say this is the benefits and all that kind of stuff. And I guess that's what I'd like to see, you know. I know we need to start and get in that time frame, but if we could get some of these projects and maybe get a little bit more information, maybe have somebody come and that's sort of the stakeholder, the owner of the project, talk about it.
That was the full intent of first creating a list and getting this board to say, you know what, that's a good idea, that might not work, this could be better than that, and once we do, then we can start bringing those specifics to the table.
Right.
Like if this board said, you know what, I don't understand the fire department training facility, but I do think it's something worthy, then the next step will be add it to the list of maybe the top 10 or top 20, and then we'll get those fire departments to come in and tell us the need, tell us you know, the benefit. And that's really truly what this list is. Most of the things you see on this list was things off the top of my head, and then some chime-ins from several of y'all. There is some, I know Derek put out some questions pertaining to some of this, but again, it was not necessarily about the numbers, it's more about the idea of projects.
Right. Well, and that would, you know, just know a little bit more would help me to, at least in my mind, to make a selection of what my priorities would be, and, you know, those, because, as you talked about, water in the shallow area, at least for supporting where it's feasible and it makes sense, again, we don't want to have any of those end-of-line things. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're rounding it so that we're not having where we create stale water and those kind of things and those issues. But I guess to do this, we've got a good list, but for me to sort of put it in perspective of what I see as the priorities, and then we can, for discussion, we just need to have a few more facts about, you know, what is
Sure.
what each project is.
Well, I mean, I can do that tonight. I mean, this is what the work
Well,
session is designed for.
Well, I don't know that we can do that tonight, because, if we could get, I mean, some of these folks, like, I don't know, like the ball fields in Whole Sanford, I don't know who the owner of, it looks like there was a price tag put out here, on, some of these, some of you guys have put some money in there, but I guess I don't know what the project actually is.
It's
you
nothing
know?
more than a suggestion of a project.
Well, I know, and then a suggestion of an amount, but what are we getting for that? That's my question.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, how many fields is that? Where's it located and all that kind of stuff? And I'm not saying we wanna have it just to discuss all of them tonight, but maybe we ought to have discussions of, pick some and have some discussions or some material presented to us,
Well, you got
from
this.
somewhere.
Yes, sir. So I'm looking at this as this: if you wanna take a hat and go home and just take ideas and write them down and tear them up and put them in a hat, we'll draw out of them and say, okay, which projects do we think we wanna go in depth with and follow through with and actually put dollar figures on. The dollar figures in front of you are just best guesses. Like I'm saying 150, I can't build a ball field for 150, but I was looking at 150 as potentially towards a matching grant, where Dennis maybe said 500, Frank said 500, they're probably talking maybe total project cost. It's just an idea of a ball field in the whole.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what I'm struggling with. I'm having trouble with setting a priority, because I don't have any idea what the project is at all. You know, it says ball field.
Well,
Okay.
There's a ball field there, we hardly ever use it at school. What this would be like making it a usable park for the rec park.
Okay.
That's what that was. That was just an idea.
Yeah, and I guess that maybe some of that discussion, at least like we're having now, would be good.
Yeah, because there's no scoreboard, there's no, there's hardly any bleachers and all that kind of stuff, there's no lighting.
Right.
There's no restrooms at the field and things like that, and right now, in this particular case, we're overwhelmed with what we're trying to do here in Mize and Diamond Hill. But here again, I think the idea is not to dwell so much on the dollars at this point, as much as trying to determine, after we take an opportunity to look at the list, and try to determine some priorities.
Well,
It's similar to what we do with or used to do with the roads.
Yeah, I agree with that, but what I'm saying is, I don't know enough about the projects to set the priority. That's what I'm,
Well, let's do
that's
it.
what the whole,
Well, let's do it this way, and this is what I had intended, and at least my mindset is for everybody to bring their own project list. In other words, District 2, what would you like to see in your district, or what would you like to see for the county at large? And then District 1, District 4, and then we'll take hopefully 50 different items, and then we'll narrow it down in a group to say, okay, this is what would be feasible to move forward with for further discussion. You know, I don't think if Brian says we want a second animal shelter in District 2 because we've got a bunch of dogs, that might get it might go down the list a little bit.
and I don't have any issues. I support a lot of most of these projects here, and I've added, some, my thoughts to some things here on the list. I guess that, who the sort of the owner of it, maybe explain what that is what I'm getting after. It's just, like, now I know what the ball field
Gotcha.
is.
All
And
right,
I know what the volunteer fire department training center is.
All right, so we know what the Highway 72 Comer Feed Mill Waterline Project is. We
That's
know what
right.
the Madison County Ag Center is. It was just a dollar figure commitment to a project
Well,
that we've known about.
And I think some of Derek's questions we need to look at is that the Ag Center, now, that's gotta be, to do that, doesn't that have to be owned by
Correct.
the county?
Correct. Not all of it, though. You can commit, like, for instance, if we committed $800,000, we could have bought and paid for the parking lot and they own the structure. You can have different owners.
But we'd actually have to own that property that it's done on, right?
Correct. But it could be leased back to the Ag Center people for $1.
Well,
We would own it.
And so, I mean, is that feasible to do that, I guess, is the only
Correct.
question I'm asking.
Yeah, it's very feasible to do that. Or if they do outbuildings, for instance, let's just say you have training pens outside. Madison County can say, okay, we're gonna buy this 1 acre from you for this donation of $800,000, or we're gonna own that 1 acre, which those feed pens are in, but we're gonna try and lease it back to you for $1 for 20 years. Yes, it's our property, but that's the legal way of meeting the qualifications for ARPA. I guess that make any sense? Alright.
It'd end up being, the way we're currently moving, it'll end up being an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Board of Education.
That's right. And so, but that's already being looked at, and so this project is very viable, and it's what I just wanted to understand.
Yeah.
Okay?
And again, the 800,000 that I'm
Yeah, I'm not
on my
worried
list
about
may
the
change.
dollar figure.
Yeah, it may change. It may go 500,
Yeah.
it go, maybe go
Yeah.
1.5. I don't know.
That's what I just wanted to make sure about the feasibility of doing that.
Yeah, and then, the Colbert Diamond Hill, or the Colbert Ballpark fields is just that, taking the fields that they've got over there, potentially doing an ownership of them, and then bringing them up to our standards. Again, it's just more of a discussion piece on a particular project. Maybe something we don't need to enter in at all. Matico West, again, it's just forethought of, hey, maybe we need to look at going into a separate Matico on the west end of town. Do we want to go down that venture?
So, I guess, since we're talking about it, then, the whole sewer expansion, have there already been, do we know what we need to do? The whole sewer expansion, is there sort of preliminary, anybody done any preliminary work on
Yes.
what that should be?
Yes. So John Phillips worked on this last week, and then Dennis has worked on it, and then I haven't, and we've come to an agreement of, by pulling the topo, finding the lowest point, and doing a gravity field to the lowest point of a lift station and pumping it into the force main back, to the lift station, to utilize that lift station to the best of the ability. That's what we had talked about earlier. But you can go ahead, you may sum this up
What we
better than me.
did, particularly on the hull, and let me say this, that's not in my district, that belongs to Frank. What we did was, I spoke with Frank Yen about that, and we had gotten caught up in the thoughts that we had to rework everything related to the sewer system that we already have there. And in conversation with Frank, I said, what if we leave the lift station and force main that we currently have now that's behind Ingalls, just leave it in place, and then pick up a gravity system that would go down, it would be the south side of Highway 29, that would pick up those businesses there, and let it be gravity from Glencarry Road to some point down there around where Alawines used to be, and then set another lift station there to pump up to the sewer plant. Well, I guess the lights come on for a couple of us then. Well, if we do that, we're not having to rethink, we're not having to reinvent the wheel, and it's not uncommon to have multiple lift stations with separate force mains. Oconee County's got that. I don't even want to think about how many lift stations they have.
Well,
out in their
Danielsville does.
system.
Danielsville has 4.
Lift stations.
But what it does is give us the
I've worked on some
opportunity to expand the sewer system, leave what we have, here again, leave what we have in place, pick up more businesses, and then, here again, get a little bit more return out of what we're doing there.
Right. So,
At a reduced cost.
Yeah,
so that, and then I guess that's my point, and I don't want to belabor this, but like, I didn't realize any of that had been done until I asked the question just now.
Well, again, it's just a point of topic.
I know, but, we're talking about priorities and setting the list. You gotta have some information to put it together, and I guess I just,
Maybe we need
I
to
missed-
have a work session.
I
just
think
to
that
kick
would be
out
a great.
Just to kick out a rant, and
Sure.
where some of our ideas or whatever come
Right.
from.
I think it would be good to have a work session if we sit down, and then not only we can invite some other folks that have done some work on this, you know, some preliminary work, and just asked a few questions to get it in our mind, is, you know, because I can see a whole sewer expansion, and I mean, you know, that might take up a good portion of the ARPA funds itself, if we decided to go there. So when you're setting priorities, you gotta sort of know, is this gonna be a real large project, or is this one, you know, is this $1 million, or is it 400,000, or is it, you know, less than that? And so, you know, I just don't know that I've had enough information to, in my mind, maybe I missed something, maybe I wasn't in on some meetings or something, but,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Everything right
It's
now
hard.
is just an email chain.
Yeah, I know it.
Again, I would like for everybody to just look at the way the sheet's structured in front of you, just look at project only, and just name off some projects that you'd like to see happen, and then we'll get to the point of the description, or you can even give us project and description, and just leave off everything after that.
Yeah, and I think I've already, you know, added my project, so, you know.
Okay.
Well, would it be better, and a different approach, I guess, would be better for each of us to just submit 5 projects
That'd be great.
that, whether on the list or not,
That's right.
and just for discussion purposes, because I think we're getting, it's kind of twofold. I understand that, hey, this is a list to kick around, but as soon as we start putting dollars to it, your brain starts.
Getting caught up in it. All right. So anyway, all right, so that's a good idea. Everybody list out 5 projects apiece. That's 25 projects, 30, and then we'll go from there. We'll narrow it down, see what we can do. Maybe we'll think of something we forgot. All right, moving on. Discuss the service delivery strategy. 10-year renewal. This can be revised year by year. Board needs to approve. Chairman needs to sign. Sticky notes. Mike, I think you've been part of this. I think everything is in order.
As far as I know, I don't think I've seen the assembled package, but I've talked to Christina about parts of it.
Basically, what we had to do, gentlemen, is if you'll see forms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth and so on, we just had to go in and put the current and active services provided and by whom. Some of them will be city services, but it'll also show how their funding is that provides those services. This is just an updated community affairs delivery plan. Nothing real special. But I guess it keeps the record straight. I don't see. Wait a minute, I'll do it later. Any questions on that, gentlemen? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the service delivery strategy plan, SDS plan, as presented.
Are you considering discussing?
Well, according to this, this board needs approved chairman to sign agreements. I don't know if it's got a deadline on it or not.
It's got discussed.
Never mind, it's October 31st, never mind, we can. Renewal date is up.
Should be for us to review and then.
Yeah, she just wrote it on the bottom, but I see it now. I see the deadline. Anyway, take that home. If you have any questions, please contact us. We'll try to answer those. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you.
Can we have, on this, look at all, just something that, can we have staff put together it's like a one-pager, we've got like the services, and then if we provide them, put an X, and if the city provide, it's just a quick read of the different services.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to go into this and pick it apart. I'm sure I'll ask Christina about it in the morning.
I think I've already done something sort of like that for her, where it breaks it down, the county provides this, this, and this, the city provides, and it's broken down by each city. So it may be something she.
A lot of them overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just kind of a one page, that way,
Just a
an
recap
easy, an
sheet
easy
of-
read.
Yeah, a recap sheet.
Very good.
All right, discuss Evergreen Solution wage study. Again, this will be done on 9/26. Evergreen will present their findings on 9/26. Board needs to decide implementation date. Obviously, would have to implement it. My suggestion is the implementation date of being January 1 or whatever that first pay period, how it falls. Missy, do you have a calendar that shows you that off the top of your head?
Which pay period are you looking for?
What day the pay week would be for January 1st? Does it start, even if it's after the fact, we can retro it back if it starts on the 5th, but I don't really want to get in any retro pay if January 5th is the day that it starts a new pay period, and that's when we need to implement the new pay scale.
The new pay period would be January 2nd.
Okay, so no big deal then. All right.
We actually have done that as part of the budget.
Actually, it's
It's
the
actually
next
done as
week.
part of the budget.
It is. It is.
I misspoke. It's actually, it's split over pay period. So, the last week of December and the first week of January is the pay period. So the next pay period would be January 9th, I'm sorry. It'd be 1 week of January.
In what you've done to this wage survey, though, it's already incorporated into the budget.
It is. It's incorporated into it.
But with the new system, keep in mind, we have this new system.
That's right.
So when we put these in, we put the date that pay goes out.
Goes into effect.
So we can split those pay periods, but somebody may get $15 an hour for the last week of December, but if their pay increase is 17, then it goes effective January 1, so whatever their first time in there is already set for that. And we just set the pay up to where it becomes accurate.
All right.
And from a procedural matter, they're gonna give us a report, and we've actually incorporated into the budget, so
Right.
I don't know if there's any action items, we just accept.
There is
We
not.
just accept it as a
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the rest of it's budget.
That's it.
That's it.
I think it's also more for the public and transparency to say how those numbers, where they derive from, how they come to that number. Just let everybody know. New business, discuss offering a business license. All right. So, I know this was tried a few years ago, and it failed miserably, due to some conflicts. What we've decided to do is we're getting, and it possibly just 2022. So, more electricians, plumbers, heating and air, they're required to have business license now in the county residence, or wherever their business is at. So we're wanting to put together a business license. Lacey's been working on this, and this is gonna be on a volunteer base only. I think the last time it was tried to be forced on people, says, okay, we're going to a business license, everybody's gonna have to do it, and it's
Have you
a mess.
looked into whether you can do it that way? I looked back at my notes for tonight's meeting, and, that was discussed back in 2012, the last time it was tried, and I reached out to ACCG and some others, and the consensus was, I mean, it's called the colloquial term is business license, but it's an occupation tax.
Occupation tax.
And so a tax can't be voluntary. So nobody I talked to could figure out how to make it voluntary.
Well, the last thing I want is to try to tell every business owner in the county they gotta buy a business license, but the fact of the matter is we have a lot of them that have to have it. Dennis, you have to have a license to be able to do certain jobs. That's why your business is in Clark County, not Madison County.
It's occupational tax certificate is what they call it.
That's what it's called.
And rather than have to have individual business licenses, if we work outside of Clark County, rather, you can pay one fee to the state, which really gets convoluted, or you go buy a business license for Gainesville, Lawrenceville, Beaufort, Swanee, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. In fact, that's one of the reasons our business is located in Clark County, is because they do require business license. It is not, I mean, the fee structure is not extraordinary. If you look at, it's based on the number of employees you have, and
That's the most common. There's 4 ways you can do it, but that's the most common.
And I would say probably 99% of the employers in Madison County that would even consider this are gonna have 10 or less employees. You know, I don't know, it opens up some doors to be able to do some things for folks too.
Yeah, we're starting to, well, it happens almost every day. Somebody comes in planning and zoning or calls to the office wanting to know, do we offer a business license, because they have to have it in order to work in so-and-so county. And we say no. And they were like, well, what do I do now? I've got a job to do in this county, or I got a job to do in Tampa. I recall we had several in the city of Danielsville that lives in the county, but the city of Danielsville is the only one that offered business license, so they had to come get a P.O. box, and they had to register everything through the P.O. box. But that, yes.
Do you, if you decided to do it, do y'all get to determine the fee for it?
Absolutely. And it could be nothing. But we gotta offer something so that we don't hold up. And what a minute ago I was gonna say was Hanley Plumbing, for instance, HPC. They had a set of apartments in Texas that they wanted to bid on, but they didn't have a county business license from where they resided. So we were in a pickle. So we had to give them one through Danielsville, even though Hanley Plumbing is located off 106.
I don't think most small businesses would care as long as the fee wasn't, I think a lot of us are just tired of being nickel and dime to death, like you said.
Oh, I agree.
It's a tax, it's not a license, so if it was a smaller fee.
Well, I'm not really looking at it as the tax standpoint, as I'm not doing you a favor by imposing a tax on you, I'm doing you a favor by handing you a license so you can go get a job. But it will be looked at that way, and that's what we don't want to do, because the other thing you get into is the revolving renewals. This is a pain. You know, Danielsville set up January 1. Everybody has to renew. This is where it fell apart, I think, for the county the last time, was they didn't know how to work on the renewals. And they just stopped it, because they were all different. If you bought it in April, then it was expired in April. You can't do that.
Well, does our new software handle this?
Yeah.
Good. And so that makes it much easier.
Yes, because we did it because of the beer and wine licensing, but it also allows for business licensing. And I mean, as far as my understanding of this, I mean, you could start with, you know, the smaller businesses. I mean, there's no minimum, is there not?
Minimum of what?
Tax for the business license.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So I mean, you could do, for a small business, if there's like less than 10 people, you could do $25.
Yeah. And that would
And
still,
just to
that
cover
would,
your
administrative costs.
That's all you want to cover.
That's all
You're not trying to generate no money, you're just trying to cover the cost.
I think that would be.
Well, again, I want to check in with ACCG on that, because if it can be a volunteer basis, that's all I'm doing is trying to say, guys, if you need a license, come get it. We do offer it. But if you don't need a license, then fine. I'm okay with it. I don't want to push anything on anybody, but I got to be able to serve the ones that need it. So we'll check into that more and discuss that more. Discuss amending section 5045 bereavement leave for Madison County. So this is a simple one. We just had some wording changed in our bereavement pay. It didn't clearly tell you for grandparents. It did not clearly tell you about spouses. So we had to go in and change grandparents related to the employee, because, again, not a big deal, but it's just a correction. We had somebody that's grandparents-in-law passed away, and they thought they could get bereavement for it, and we couldn't give it to them. But our rules didn't say that specifically, so we're just trying to clean up that one. Matter of fact, Mike, I think there's about 10 that we've got going that just need one word changed in it to clean it up.
Yeah, I remember when this question came up, and I said, the list is pretty specific, so in-laws count if it's a father-in-law or mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, but there's no provision for grandparents-in-law. So as written, that person didn't get leave.
Correct. So now it says the employees.
So
Yeah.
You'd actually need to strike grandparents.
Exactly.
And just have grandparents of county employee only.
Yeah, that's what it says in red.
Grandparents of county employee.
Yeah, in red, underlined, grandparents of county
And if you,
employees.
sorry to do this here in the meeting, but if you go down that road and the next one is grandchildren, are you gonna say grandchildren of employee only? I mean, my opinion to Tracy when she asked me about it was, if it says grandchildren, it means my grandchildren. If it says grandparents, it means my grandparents. If it says father, it means my father. It doesn't mean my father-in-law until if it says father-in-law.
Yeah.
Because with grandchildren, you're gonna get into the whole, so is it blood grandchildren, or is it
Yeah.
just grandchildren, or is it adopted
Yeah.
grandchildren, you know?
That might need a little more discussion between now and the
Yeah,
business
and
meeting.
it's no hurry. There's no hurry, we're just trying to clean up something, but maybe we're not.
Does this get abused a lot?
It's just different topics.
You know, it's just when it comes up and there's not a clear definition.
Yeah, I
that's a good
understand.
one to explain it. I don't think, I haven't heard of it given.
That's why I say, when you put grandchildren,
I mean, you certainly hope no grandparent is gonna have to bury their grandchild.
that's right, and
But-
my point of it is just from when grandchildren, yes, but if it is adopted grandchild, it's still,
That's your grandchildren.
that's right, so.
What keeps coming up, and it's not about the topic of bereavement, but what keeps coming up is, well, we have done it this way in the past, but then we've also not done it this way in the past.
Well,
That's the most common answer that I hear from HR, right, Mike?
You're exactly right.
And that don't have anything to do with bereavement. That could be, somebody is terminated. Do we pay out vacation? Do we not pay out vacation? Well, did they turn in a letter resigning? Well, no. Well, then they don't get it. Well, did they turn one in that said they did resign or the day they quit? They did, but did they work a notice? Do you pay them? Do you not pay them? It's always something, because we don't have enough definitive answers to go by.
Yeah, I mean, if there's actually an ambiguity in policy, we straighten it out. We need to amend it, but if it's just a matter of we haven't been following policy, we just need to start following it.
That's
If
right.
we don't like it as it is, we need to amend it and follow that one.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Over the years,
This one is not as bad as it sounds, so we're just talking about granting up to 3 working days of pay. That's not saying we're limiting somebody to the number of personal leave. If they have a family loss, they can
That's right.
take personal leave, just say we're limiting it to
Like
3
what pay
days'
is
pay,
that?
and those pay can only be accumulated based on these.
Right.
Yeah.
cases.
And that one's pretty standard for most whatever.
well, you
industry.
think so, and then we get off in the weeds with this one. Well, I'm a paramedic. I work 24-hour shift. What's 3 days?
Yeah, but it's.
No, I mean, I'm getting these.
Yeah, but, I understand that, but
That's when you specifically
Yeah,
say
you-
3,
8-hour workday.
yeah, and Monday through Friday. And I know even though you've got sheriffs and all, I mean, the best way to look at that is Clark County has a pretty decent policy on that. Is to look, if you're gonna look that specifically at.
Because
look at it there.
a jailer may work a 12-hour shift, and you say, hey, he gets 3 8-hour days, and he says, wait a minute, I'm gonna lose money.
Yeah,
If
that's
Uncle
what
Henry
they don't
dies,
have.
or my
Well, some
brother
places
dies.
accumulate leave by hours rather than days.
Yeah,
based on 8 hours.
but I think that's
That's the
where-
way I've always recognized it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can be a fireman in Athens and work 24 hours, you're only gonna get 16 hours.
Yeah,
leave.
Caterpillar, got people that work 10 hours, 12 hours.
It's based on 2,080 hour,
Yep.
a year,
Yeah.
hours.
But that changes with the sheriff's department works at 2188, 2288, and the EMS works at 21, all y'all different. Y'all got some
So-
crazy hours.
So somebody's gotta sit down and figure out how to write that so that
It needs to say. if
it's
you
fair
work
for everybody.
A 12-hour shift, this is what your bereavement pay is. If you work an 8-hour day,
This is what it is.
And if you
Yeah.
work a 24 on, 48 off, this is your, like, it's gonna have to be, you can't do a blanket across all that, because it's not fair for somebody who works in an office 8 hours a day versus somebody who's doing a 24-hour, or even a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to look at.
And I'll be honest with you, I hate to burden y'all with this, but these are the kind of things that wear us out in the office. It's like, well, we've done it this way for some, but not this way for others. And I'm like, oh, God, you can't do that. Please don't tell me you did that.
Yeah. My suggestion is, when that's the question, change the question to, well, how do we wanna do it from now on?
Correct.
If it's not what the policy says, bring it here and change it.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right, I've seen that too, and that's the way that has to work.
I think this is on the right track.
One thing, because we just had our last budget hearing, I guess, that was the last one, right? One thing I forgot to add during that budget hearing was, the Chamber of Commerce. I have asked for, extra funding to be put into the chamber. Currently, we give them $15,000 a year as a portioned type salary. It's distributed between the IDBA and the Madison County School System, and I've asked to increase that by $10,000. I've done that for multiple reasons. Now, y'all are welcome to correct it when we get to the voting time. I just want to make y'all aware, because I'm trying to get the other groups to fund for another position for the Chamber of Commerce. Because we all know how good of a chamber we've got, we all know how hard they work, and if we can get some full-time help, in that position, I feel like it'd be well-funded, so I don't think $10,000.
We'll just need to amend the contract to reflect that if
It
it's
would.
approved in the budget, because you can't technically give money to a chamber, you contract with them for services.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So, the intent of that money is for them to hire
A
another
full-time
person.
person, yes, sir.
Yeah, so the services would expand, then that all goes into the
Because they've already
contract.
expanded on our original contract, which was a full-time, and they've already added a part-time. This would be to expand that with additional.
So,
services.
that's what I'm saying. So the actual 10,000 is for that.
Well, I talked to Rod.
To change the
additional
I
numbers,
feel like
yeah,
it
to
would set the
add
precedence if we did that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
the work they're doing.
So much from IDBA,
Oh, I don't know about them now.
you got dealing with BOE.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the chamber's there. Yeah. But the other contributors to that salary is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to get some of that worked out also before budget hearing time. Any urgent matters, gentlemen?
I'm gonna use this time as urgent matters because it's on the calendar, but, knowing that we were talking about budget, we were talking about water systems, different things like that, I know when the Rotary donated the, splash pad to the park, it's been a tremendous success and I'm proud of that. One of the things that was talked about early on was, I had an engineer, lined up that was gonna provide pro bono services to design a pond down there for the road department. That person has moved on and no longer can fulfill that commitment, so I think it'd be worth our while to, possibly, ask our, on-call engineer, John Phillips, to see what a price may be and work with our county surveyor to do any topo that might need to be done down there to capture not just a little bit of that runoff from the splash pad, but also that drainage basin, to see if we can formalize a pond for irrigation to some of the fields, i.e., less water we have to purchase through that system, just like we're talking about getting stuff out of the well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it would be,
I think it'd be a savings in the long run.
I know we don't need a vote for you to do that, but I wanted to
Yeah.
say that publicly to, for support.
We did, we actually just discussed this about a month ago, and Alan said we just didn't have time to get to it, and I get it. But yeah, that 100%, I have no problem with moving forward. I'll give John a call and ask him to look that up, or you're welcome to give John a call and give him an update. I gotta commend him on that grant deal the other night. We threw in a loophole, I threw in a curveball on him, and within one day, he put some numbers together for us on a project. So I give him props on that one. There's, and we've asked for several projects, like that Shiloh off 29. I wanna go ahead and see all these. You don't necessarily need the dollar figures, you just need the material list and how to get there on paper. So when we get ready to pull a project, we can say, all right, well, we've got it ready, now just price that out. And have, like the grant writer said, you always want 5 on hand, and right now we got about 3, but we'll get there. It's money well spent. 9 times out of 10, that line from 29 to Shiloh, for instance, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change in diameter, it's not gonna change anything, only it's gonna change is the price. So if we already have a materials list on go in a file, pull it, that's your next project. So it's getting better. There's probably 10 more things I need to tell y'all, but after last week, I can't recall them. It's very busy. Our website is online as of today at 12 o'clock. We have a brand new website. It's up and going. Y'all have already seen the presentation on it, but it is active today.
Much more user friendly.
Much. Missy, do you have anything to add out of your?
Just we're constantly reviewing everything and trying to be more efficient, not only in our, in what we spend money-wise, but also in our personnel. We're trying to figure out better ways to use our people so that we get more bang for our buck.
Lacey will start classes in January, I think, correct?
Supposed to.
She's starting grant writing classes in January. So we'll have a on-staff grant writer /
And Christina is finishing up her clerk certification this week.
That's right. That's where she's at tonight, or today. She's finishing up the clerk certification. Everything's good. We have a lot of good stuff going on. There's some noise in the background, but, we're good. We're getting there. I don't know,
Did I hear something about a job fair?
do what?
Did I hear something about a job fair coming up?
Yes, there is a job fair coming up regarding Madison County jobs. And a lot of them has to do with courthouse jobs. I don't have that email from Tracy Dake.
It is the 28th.
28th of
September
this.
28th.
At what time?
I don't have the time, but I do know it's gonna be September 28th, because it's a Wednesday.
One of the things that Graded News Source asked me today is, what does Madison County need to do to graduate its students and retain them as employers? I said, good question, young man. But it was brought up also in the economic development meeting at the high school. We'll get there. We'll get there. With that being
With that being said tonight, that's what's coming out, like, that'll be hitting social media soon, so that we can be advertising that all the county departments with open positions will be.
Are you a Graded News Source? Okay, I figured so. I thought I recognized you from the meeting a couple weeks ago. Okay. All right, do you have a particular topic? This is a work session. We can discuss whatever.
No, I'm just listening today.
What is your name?
I'm Haley Robinson.
Okay, what is your topic that you're reporting on? 'Cause all y'all.
I'm election coverage. It's for my capstone. And so, I'm writing an article about zoning right now in Madison County. Because I know y'all are in a moratorium right now. And so, that's what my article for this week is focused around. But I was just listening today.
Okay.
Talk to Lee Mitchell, he's in charge of all this.
This is spokesperson.
Ladies, do y'all have anything?
There's no way you cannot get an A in that, though. we have a moratorium, so any zoning related question is non-effective, so your whole paper's a paragraph, right? You gotta get it out.
Article this week.
There you go.
I can give you 300 pages on vested rights.
I do have a
Sure.
question. I think part of your problem is in getting employees and retaining them. You guys don't pay enough. My daughter, she makes $18 an hour plus benefits, and she's a secretary. You know, and so I go online and I look, and I just really, I would not apply for a job here, I'm sorry.
You're 100% correct, young lady. We don't pay enough, but you're fixing to see that change. That's what we were discussing in that wage study.
Okay,
And it is part of the budgeted numbers that's already here. We will be competitive with the surrounding counties.
great.
We already are competitive in the EMS and the sheriff and the jailers. Maybe not in the jailers, they're getting there. I would like to think that we're as close as the surrounding counties in emergency services right now. But now you're gonna see it transform over into a lot of the offices in this building.
Oh, that's really,
To the
really
budget
good.
was
I'm so
approved.
happy to hear that.
Represent $1 million just an increase in salaries.
That's correct. It's about 883,000, something like that I read.
Around 850.
Yeah. So just in the past year and a half, well,
Just
since
in
2020.
This coming up budget, we fixed to see $850,000 just salary
That's
increases.
wonderful. I just don't want to lose our Madison County students and people to Clark or County. I want them to stay here.
Well, one of the people that was in the meeting with the chamber meeting the other morning was SK Batteries.
Oh,
And
good. My
SK was
son-in-law
in
works
there. Yeah, and they were, and Kubota was there, and some others. And I told them, I said, you know, when they were talking expansion,
Yep.
I'm like, all right, so they're getting into a bidding war with salaries, because there's only X amount of people to employ, so they're going to Kubota until they find out that guy pays another $1 more, then they move over there. And the rotation, there is no retention because you're in a bidding war.
Yeah.
But had they relocated some of their outsourced buildings, let's say SK Battery just comes across the line into Madison County and builds a small, don't go panic, but if they built a small serviceable area here that would retain some of our students, it does keep them at home.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I said, go build your outbuildings where your future employees are coming from.
Yeah.
Because I'm not building one in downtown Athens working at SK Battery. I don't think the employment you're not going to get it.
No.
You're in a farming community. You're in a hands-on community. 80% of the kids that's running around, or at least maybe 10 or 20 years ago, were nut and bolt kids because their dad were nut and bolt guys. You know, so times has changed, but that's what I would do. Just speaking. Young man, you got anything before we close out? Lee? Ms. Harvin? It's a work session, come on.
I know. What she said, those outbuildings, are y'all talking to SK? Is our IBA talking to SK or some of these other Kubota to get some of these buildings?
I know Anna brings them in yearly. SMI has made another big transfer. I think was you in that? No, you weren't. So, I know they just bought, the old Shavens plant in Comer, which Jody Blackman had. SMI has.
SMI is looking to add 280 more employees to their workforce in the next 2 years in Madison County. And if you don't mind.
SPG.
That was one of the things in conversation that we've had, is to look for something that, for want of a better name, would be Madico West, so that we might have the opportunity to pick up some of the overflow out of Jackson County and what they're doing up there. This year, we have approved a rezoning for, was it 38 acres, I believe it was thereabouts, 38 acres, that's right on the county line, where there was the guy that presented the thing, one of his things he was entertaining was putting a cold storage facility there. So there's opportunities there, but it's one of those things, and we're faced with a challenge here. In times that some austerity is called for, to make money, you gotta spend money. And forgive me, but I don't really care about rooftops of houses. I wanna see business in this county, because those are tax dollars that aren't a tax burden.
Which all come back to the comprehensive plan. So we're making the right moves, it's just we're early in it. Start with a comprehensive plan and work from there, but the ideas around the table are the right ideas currently. I said SMI a minute ago, it was SPG that's acquired the big building down in Comer by the feed mill, Shavings Company.
Another concept along those lines, instead of thinking about the big battery plants and even having them to divide their buildings, if you go looking for the companies that provide products to them, that provide inputs to them, then you likely have smaller, less intrusive, but still very valuable. But as long as SK is in business, then they're going to have business. So if you got folks who are providing inputs, it's probably a lot better fit for us than looking for the big ones.
You know, I can only encourage people to join the chamber and get that and start building that list of business what we have. Most people don't know that we have a business right here in Danielsville, right outside, not inside the cities, but right outside the city limits, that builds the conveyor systems for a lot of your poultry industries. He's in Texas all the time. They build massive, Hilly's Machine Shop. They only employ about 5 people, but they build massive conveyor systems here and then go to Texas and install them.
The hatchery automation all over.
That's right. But so we're getting there, but I'm hearing a friend of mine called me yesterday and says he wants to build a processing plant, beef processing plant, which may be something, you know. It don't have to be the biggest.
The chamber's been doing so. We know we have a great chamber. Have you ever thought about them getting their own building so that visitors and stuff, I mean, they're doing a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
It's very hard for somebody to go to the Board of Education knowing that our chamber is there.
That's a component of Ag Center design.
I'm sorry, what?
That is a component of Ag Center design.
Okay.
I got a question, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Let's fast forward and say that the grant is awarded for, did you call it fresh water?
Fresh drinking water grant, yes.
Who is going to control that money? Is it the BOC or is it the IDA?
It'll be Madison County BOC.
Okay.
Because the grant award, just like the CDBG grant that we just received, that money was awarded to Madison County, so therefore we have to facilitate the money.
That's what I wanted to hear, that you guys are.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Missy.
Nope, you're right.
Yes. So,
Yeah, the grant was applied from
Right.
the BOC, and it has to be awarded to the BOC. So every dollar that comes in and every dollar that comes out funnels through these offices.
So everything's got to be approved through you,
Yeah.
which is great, that's what it should be.
purchase order wise, yes.
Yeah.
And Stephanie mentioned the business development and so forth. The Chamber of Commerce is head and shoulders above anything that I've ever seen. I think that she needs to be given more help if she can, because right now, our business development, economic development, whatever his title is, I'm not seeing anything coming out over there. I asked the question not too long ago, and didn't get the answer that I was looking for, so, atta girl, yeah.
We will definitely, you will see myself for this Board of Commissioners put a big push behind economic development January 1. Not saying we're not doing it now. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm telling you and say, well, why ain't you doing it now? We are doing it now, but we're doing it through channels. And as a phenomenal resource. I do think you're going to see some changes as to working to get those business tops instead of rooftops.
Yeah.
I
But it's gonna
think
be
he was,
smaller business.
I think he was more saying, why do we have a board that is supposed to do that, but Anna's doing more of the work, because, you know what I mean? Like, I hope she gets paid more than our IDA director, because she does a lot more than he does.
I can't go in, I can't speak to that one.
I've lived here for 3 years and I have seen no economic, it's always water.
Well, I mean, water's an important factor of it, though.
It is.
It is. I mean, we have to have that also. There's so many moving parts to the wheel, but I get it. But anyway,
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
well, first, I got first, executive session, discuss real estate acquisition, personal matters, or potential litigation, sir.
No, sir.
Motion.
I don't think it would have been, but it's a work session.
I appreciate you responding those days, because I had to wait I was thinking the same thing.
No, it's okay. I mean,
But I didn't want to. You
you need to ask Christina about Wi-Fi. It's like 11 o'clock and I.
One of the problems that the board we allow our citizens to move our animals. We don't need to be.
Shipping them up and then loading them on the cart.
We could be thinking directions, we could be thinking down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
This one,
You'll be good.
yeah.
You just handle it, whatever it is, you handle it.
This one found the brick wall.
Yeah, about
I guess I'm not plugged in.
I have a lot of firemen, because I'm only asked for
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you
That's my thing about it, and we talk about projects, but
Yes, sir. Push me down. Keep it shut.
And now you're off.
Right.
Thank you for everything you do. Sure, thank you.